Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is The Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. Let the games begin. This is Draft Day Sports College Basketball, and it's week 38 in the competition. It's still March of the 2030 season. This is going to be an off-season special. Still finishing up recruiting. They're still finishing up the March Madness tournament. I did not qualify for any postseason tournaments at just 15 and 15. The big question still remaining is whether I am being promoted or not, as there were 4 teams all tied at 10 and 6, and there were 3 spots available for promotion. At one time, the standings showed me at the bottom of that, and it certainly affected whether who I played for the conference tournament. But then at the end of the conference tournament, it showed me in a higher place, even though those standings did not change. It showed me second or third. But either way, in one of those 4 promotion spots. So what is it? We'll find out soon. Now, we are in a contact period, so let's start there. And things have changed. So let me start where I was. Courtney Perry, after going for the home visit, has decided to come play for us. So we picked up our second shooting guard. The only position now still needing to be filled is the power forward position. So there's Courtney Perry, had a good visit. Andre Anderson is the guy we have targeted, and it was a good visit. I haven't seen where his standing is just yet. Parquet is the backup for that if things don't go well with Anderson. So we also took a visit with him, and the other one we went and took a visit with is Woodley, Nathan Woodley. So let's go ahead and take a look at those individuals and see where we're at now. So Nathan Woodley is a small forward, but he's a junior college transfer, just barely making the requirements. Now his interest peaked, but we're only 10th on his list. That's not looking so good. Parquet, we just jumped to 4th on his list. I think we were 9th or 10th. So that's actually a pretty solid number. We could get Parquet if we offered him a scholarship. Yeah, Perry jumped to number 1 on his list, and he did sign with us, so that's excellent. Here's the other moment of truth. Anderson. Okay, we're up to number 2 on his list. We were at number 5, so that's about as close as you're going to get to signing and not having signed yet. It is a quiet period now, actually, so there is no more opportunities. That was only a single week for contact. So at this point, we just got to hope that whoever number 1 is, Anderson, doesn't sign with them. It could be he's from Utah. Let's say it's Utah or BYU, and he's always wanted to go there. Let's see, maybe let's go with the call list. Oh, only one parent, and they didn't go to college. So it certainly isn't waiting for that. But yeah, let's say number 1, theoretically, it's like Utah. Utah hasn't offered a scholarship. He keeps waiting and hoping that they'll offer him a scholarship. They don't offer. He finally signs with us on deadline day. At least that's the scenario I'm hoping for. And not that they've also offered, and he's going to pick between the 2 at the last minute and go with his number 1. So it'd be pretty bad for me. But for the first time, we're going to have a player who is an A rating, a top 35 player for the first time. We've cracked top 100. I've had a few top 100 recruits, but not this high. At least I don't think. I'm not tracking that particularly. Well, with the quiet period, there's not much going on here recruiting-wise, other than one guy yet to go. All the other teams in my conference are knocked out of whatever tournaments they were in. Alcorn State made the NCAA as the conference tourney winner. They were the 16th seed play-in game, and they lost that, so they didn't even make it to the actual first round. Let's go ahead and finish this week out. And they are in the Elite 8 right now. There was one game left to go on that one before we get to the Final Four selections. There is one big surprise in the Final Four of the two teams that have qualified so far right before I went live on camera.
You have new mail.
We'll check on that mail and then we'll come back to this tournament. You'll get your reveal on the entire Final Four here in just a moment. Ooh, oh. Okay. Andre Anderson, he made his decision. He chose our school. For a second, I was like, oh, no. Yes, okay. All right, we got our man. So we got our 4 recruits coming in for next season, and it is a very good recruiting class, I must say, that is coming in for next season. That's going to be a big help. One thing that's not going to be a big help is J.J. Bolton. Is he ready yet? No. He wants to be promoted to a higher assistant. And the sad thing is he's improving. He is improving as a coach. I've had so many come through the ranks like this guy here. It's supposed to be good for player development, but beyond that, he hasn't changed a bit in his quality. These two have been improving steadily, but are pretty low ranked overall. But I like this guy, J.J. Bolton. I would love for him to stay on in the role he's in right now. But he wants to get promoted, and I don't have that, so his salary is going to end up going away. We're going to lose him, and I'm going to have to fill that spot, which really sucks because I have more of a difficult time recruiting coaches than I do players, because I'm an 85 on recruiting. I do that quite well. But that recruiting number does not translate to coaching numbers. The school prestige is what translates to that. Who wants to sign up for a school with very low prestige? Well, definitely not the best coaches. So it's going to hurt to lose Bolton. Alright, now let's take a look. And it looks like in that time we actually got a couple games out of the way. The big surprise, Texas Tech, a 7 seed, got into the Final Four. 2 1 seeds made it through. These were the 2 I hadn't seen yet. So Oklahoma and Florida State. Florida State got a 1 seed, even though they were only ranked number 5. So somebody got left out of that mix. I presume that the 2 higher ones, UConn and Maryland, are the ones that got knocked off in here, and that it would have been Notre Dame that got left off that list just based on the rankings. But championship game is going to be between Philadelphia, who crushed Texas Tech, and the ever so close 1-point win for Florida State, but also the highest seed left. So the number 5 team in the country taking on the number 8 team in the country for the NCAA championship this season.
You have new mail.
And Florida State wins it by a lot. So Florida State is the 2030 NCAA champion. All right, with that, let's keep things moving along. We're going to be heading into the off season now. I got all my guys, and we're ready for things to go on. Without looking at the main award winners for the whole nation, as that's something that I'm always way out of contest on. We're going to go straight to Conference O. And who is the player of the year? Alice Hescott from Alcorn State, the senior, small forward. His numbers aren't that great. I'm not sure why he won that, but best team. Freshman of the year, David Wise. You were a freshman? I thought he was in his senior year. All right, freshman David Wise got freshman of the year, 15.8 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, so he's got some work to do in those categories, but he was a fantastic scorer for me this season. I had no idea he was a freshman. Defensive player of the year out of DeLand. Coach of the year, Alcorn State. The only one who is certain to be promoted this year. First team all-conference, Gene Richardson, Alice Hescott. There we go. David Wise makes first team all-conference as a freshman. Second team all-conference from DeLand, Coastal Carolina, Delaware, Detroit, and another Coastal Carolina, finishing out those 5. All right, so we get freshman of the year and first team all-conference honors for David Wise, who was definitely our player of the season, and surprising to me, as I had forgotten, the freshman, not the senior.
You have new mail.
All right, season review. Don't finish last in conference. We succeeded. Yay! Okay, on to job hiring. I'm not going anywhere, but Alabama head coach. See that prestige. Who's at the top? Arizona. Let's see. UCLA is a 66 right now. Cincinnati's a 70. UConn 94. Whoa. Durham, that's Duke in 87. Florida 75. Florida State 85 and NCAA champion right now. Academics B, that's right. Georgia Tech 86. Indiana 75. There's a 94 Kansas, the Jayhawks. UConn. Kentucky 78. Louisville's 71. Maryland at 91. Wow. Michigan State 78. North Carolina's a 77. Oh, Oklahoma's a 98. Wow. Wow. My alma mater's a 75. That's a joke. They're a much higher academic school than Florida State. Just saying. It's not even close. Philadelphia, 86. It's not the highest in the Pac-12. It's middle of the Pac-12, but I attended the number 3 ranked program in the nation, at least at the time. but it was the highest ranked program at school. But anyway, Notre Dame had 97. That's also a joke. But yes, they are high on academics. But that prestigious? I have bias on that. Thanks to football. Years ago, we were ranked higher. We had the better record. We had the better strength of schedule. But they were Notre Dame. They were marketed. They made it to a BCS bowl game, and we did not. That was way before the playoff era. But that was definitely when we were on the rise. Just after Chip Kelly came to the school as offensive coordinator. But that's a different sport. Syracuse in 89. Texas is a 76. This is just curiosity. I've never really looked all the way through there. Utah's a 65. The Huskies, Washington, 67. Surprised they're a little low. But of course, this is, it's 2030. Things have changed. This rises and falls every year. Alright, let's go ahead and advance.
You have new mail. You have new mail.
Okay. All the letter of intents were signed on signing day, so we were good there. It's on to staff hiring. Sadly, I have a vacancy to fill, and it is in our main recruiting guy. And see, there's not much available, and it's that reputation thing. So the two strongest aren't good at anything else. Going down to the next tier, Anthony Smith brings a little something to the school, as does Eddie Hughes. So, I'm going to go with, well, really they're not that good. Why don't we do a 2-year? And contract amount needs to be up there a bit, but I think I can save some money. I'm going to offer $35,000. There's more than one option. So we're going to go ahead and make that offer. There we go. So we're going for Anthony Smith. Low ambition. That's probably a good thing if I want to keep him around a while. As that last guy had high ambition, and it drew him away quite quickly. But I am getting to a higher level of reputation in coaches, guys that aren't just 20s across the board. Not so long ago, I was getting 6s and 5s. But you can see, we're still hitting the bottom tiers. I mean, these guys are nothing but 20s. Rookie coaches with no experience. I need something more than that, even though this is not good. Alright, I can go ahead and run that first set of offers. And he signed. We got our man, and that's $15,000 less than the outgoing coach. So that's going to help our budget a bit. Okay, I got 1 year left on Morrissey. And with a 67, I probably will try to re-sign him, even though he's not any good here. So I think I'm definitely looking up for next season. I've got some good players going in, and definitely some of the players going out aren't going to be a big loss to the team. Our best player was a freshman this year. Alright, it's time for the meeting with the board. This is my chance to get an improvement. Time is not something I need. It's either facilities or budget. I've had this improved twice. I've had this improved once. And I've been going for budget here recently, trying to keep that balanced for one thing. but because we were stretched so thin, thanks to myself spending most of the budget on coaches. But now that I just saved $15,000, I've got a lot more money to play with. I'm tempted to go for facilities this year, but let's stick with budget.
You have new mail. You have new mail.
Request denied. So no change this year. I've had 3 improvements in, 13, 14 years? So it's, 25% chance that I'm going to get it approved. And it was just a couple seasons ago that we got facilities improved for a second time. Alright, let's take one last look at the roster. Gaines is on his way out, so that is a starter. Daryl Dixon, who is a walk-on, is on his way out. Ryan Driver, who never played a minute for us. He was the first transfer that I've ever taken into the school. He was the second best player in terms of ratings, but he never had the GPA, never qualified. No matter how much help I got him, no matter how many times I told him to focus on his studies, he never got his GPA up high enough. But the school would have taken a prestige hit, and the scholarship still wouldn't have been available for a while if we had taken. But it was the prestige hit was the main thing, so kept him around. He ate up a spot, so that's actually good riddance. Tahid, that's going to hurt a little bit, but he did not have a very good year. He was our best player in terms of ratings this year. But Tahid, as a one-year starter, didn't do much. And Paul Floyd, honestly, had a better season than Tahid did, with pretty similar numbers and fewer minutes. And yeah, sure enough, look at that. David Wise, redshirt freshman. So, with that in mind, I'm not losing anything here outside of Gaines. But Forney was as good as Gaines was most of this season. 4.0, and he was a true freshman. Dude, okay. Let's end the season. I have high hopes that next season we'll get back into promotion, and hey, we still have the big what if. Did I get promoted this season or not? Odds are 75% that I did, but looking at the factors of standings, I gotta say it's 50-50. At one point, the standings had us as the 5th team. At one point, it had us as the 3rd team. 4 are going up. So that was before the conference tournament, after the conference tournament. I'm anxious to see which conference we're in. All right, here's budget 137. No scholarships open for next year? Oh, whoa. Scheduling, and of course scouting reports. Conference N. We got promoted. So Conference N it is. Apparently the performance in the conference playoffs had to have been the tiebreaker. So, because I went into the conference playoffs, the 5th seed. I got to the semifinal, and the standings came out reflecting that. So all the tie breaks seemed to be how deep into that tournament you got. And I was 3rd by getting into the semifinal. The 2 teams that played in the final ended up the 2 teams that were at the top of the standings. Alcorn State was one of those, and they won the conference and won it outright. They weren't part of that 4-way tie. But DeLand, they finished 2nd. South Philly was 4th, and there's no Macon. And Macon was the one that I knocked off early in the conference tournament to get above them. So yeah, there's your 4 teams that came up. All right, well, finally, I figured out what the what the tiebreak is. It's the conference tournament. All right, so Portland Pilots are in this one, so I'll finally have another inner city conference opponent. It's not Portland State, though, who is my natural rival, but the Portland Pilots. All right, well, let's get through this, and see what there is to do. Looks like I'm not going to have any recruiting to do this year at all, which is shocking. Which means I probably don't want to get into buyer reports right now. Roster. All right, so I have Kenyon Forney, Greg Burton, and Chris Smith, all returning players. Here's my new guys, Courtney Perry and Travis Snow, along with walk-on junior Llewellyn Curtis, who's a returner from last season. And then I have Tafflinger, Map, and Small. Map, the new incomer. Small, who redshirted last year. I have Floyd and incoming freshman Andre Anderson. And then I have Wise, Butler, McCamey, and the walk-on Scott Martin. No seniors, and all scholarships filled. Just the 2 walk-ons. Now, in terms of juniors, let's see. Greg Burton, he's not a scholarship. Paul Floyd, and Travis Butler. So I'll have 3 outgoing next year. Scott Martin's also, a walk-on. So, wow, okay. No scholarships this year, 3 next year. No reports to buy.
You have new mail.
Nobody's transferring out. So that's going to make that easy. Skip those sessions.
You have new mail. You have new mail.
You have actually get to the
you have
beginning of the season.
You have new mail.
No recruiting to take place.
You have new mail.
Why don't we just delete all? Ta-da! We're not doing any summer travel because There's no reason to. We're not going to dip into that budget at all this year. Team budget, $42,000 to spend.
You have new mail.
Here's the pro draft for 2030. Andrew Jepson out of Kansas, taken first overall. And Duck goes 13th. Bunch of Oklahoma players. 3 in a row. And of course no one from my school. I've still never had a player drafted. But we're moving on up. We're getting there eventually. Okay, recruiting begins. Of course, that's not a thing for me this season, so we'll be flying right through that. There is one thing we could do this off season. Let's see where we're at. Rivers has 3 years left on his contract. He signed an extension last year. Anthony Smith just signed. He's got 2 years left, but this is the last year for Malone Morrissey. His salary was $38,000. He still has high ambition, so there's a chance that he might not want to re-sign. And there you go. He's going to see if he can get a head coaching offer first. So we might, well, we're not going to get his chance to re-sign him. He's already opted out, so
You have new mail.
we make this a very quick off season. We'll be getting to the start of the season, which means I will, after we get into practices, we'll be doing the depth and rotation, and that'll be the main part of this off-season special. We managed to get promoted this past season, but it was certainly by the thinnest of margins.
You have new mail. You have new mail. You have new
All the mail is the summer camps.
You have new mail. You have new mail. You have new mail.
Yes.
You have new
Alright, so we're into August. Here's the favorites this year. First look at Player of the Year award, and UConn's on top with Arizona and a Duck third. So Oregon third on that list. That's another thing. I've still never had a player on the watch list either. Practice will start here relatively soon. What a quick off season this is turning into be though. This is just the second time that I've had no scholarships to offer in a year. Even next year we're only going to have 3.
You have new mail.
Okay, now we're on to scheduling. I never change the schedule. It is what it is. I get what I get. And so our conference schedule is pretty balanced this year. But the non-conference, okay, we're at Lewisburg. Villain from last year, if we had won that game, we would have gotten promotion outright and not had the crazy wait and see that we ended up with. We get Portland State at home this year. A lot of road games. 4 in a row. Not exactly tough. Got Olean, Eastern Washington, Baltimore. They're pretty high on prestige compared to us. Eastern Illinois, Northern Colorado's low prestige. Florida Atlantic, that's a home game. Wright State, is that supposed to be Wichita State? I don't know. They're Conference F. Albany, Conference L. That's one thing I should be looking at, is who's higher conferences. There's another Conference L. That's going to be a tough road game. But yeah, Lewisburg's staying in Conference O. Conference T for Florida Atlantic. So that should be a win. Northern Colorado is Conference S. That's what, one conference above us now? Because we're N, I believe. Yeah, Conference H. Baltimore, that's going to be a tough game on the road. Eastern Washington's pretty low. Conference E for Olean. That's high up there. That's like the 5th conference. But it's at home. Be a tough start to the season. All right, it's the end of September, and yeah, we're getting into the practice part of the schedule. All right, let's glance at a few things before we get into it. So we're going to look at some team history. There are some team records. This is individual games. Isaac Kidd has been our biggest scorer, but there's David Wise, who in the early part of last year came close to that record. But let's go ahead and look at some career records. These ones matter a lot more. Clifton Jennings has been our biggest scorer, with Teddy Hazelton second best. Ian Dawson has attempted the most shots, though. And Jennings has also made the most free throws. I think you could tell where he's going to be on the rankings for points. Daryl Erskine has made the most threes. And you have to have a large number of shots to get on this list, shot attempts. So field goal percentage, only 9 guys eligible on this one. Clifton Jennings is second best there, with David Blackman ahead of him. Free throw percentage, only 2 players have taken enough to be on this list, Isaac Kidd and Donald Bailey. 3-point percentage, only 7 there have attempted enough, and Kenyon Forney had enough shots this last year to be classified here, but he's near the bottom of that list. But he's young, so hopefully that percentage will improve. All right, here we go. Top points getter is Teddy Hazelton. A lot of threes helped boost him up that list, putting him ahead of Daryl Erskine, and then Clifton Jennings, Ian Dawson, and Adam Scales are the top 5. Top players, David Wise, already number 27 as a freshman, had 475 points. And Paul Floyd, the backup power forward, already on that list as well, and he's quite young. Assists, Ian Dawson leading the way, Aki Collins behind him, and Kenyon Forney all the way down in 30th. Rebounds, Charles George well ahead of Tahid, who is now graduated. Steals, no current players. Charles George leading the way on that, and I think Charles George was a center with 138 steals. Yeah, there you go. He's also our leader in blocks. I loved that guy. We were so dominant during that period. That was the time that we got ranked, I think. Double-doubles? I know I had at least one this year. this last year. Paul Floyd, he's had 3 now. And he's still quite young, so he's doing well there. Kenyon Forney's had 1. Never had a triple-double yet. And most games played, Daniel Earl and Teddy Hazelton with 122. These are the guys who've gotten deeper into tournaments. I've had 241 wins since joining the team. 153 losses, 61%. Made 9 post seasons. No championships yet. Looking at the team history here briefly, that 15-15 is the worst record we've had since the first 3 out of 4 seasons. And last year was just 16-15, but we actually still ended up making it to the CIT tournament, surprisingly. We were ranked in 26 and 27 for the first time in the team's history with really good seasons. But we've been struggling a bit the last couple of years, and these are our conference end opponents. Not very many games, so a lot of new faces. And finally, prestige tracking. Let's go ahead and look throughout our history. Oof. Massive drop in prestige. Look how fast that comes. So all of these years, ranked, promotions, back to back years. And it only went from 10 to 15. I have a 500 record for 2 years, and my prestige just plummets down to below that. That's really sad. Really big boost there in 1 year, so hopefully it can jump back this year. It's sad to see our prestige take that big of a hit in 2 mediocre seasons versus a ton of really good years, barely improving. A lot of that's got to be the conference. We move up, we get high enough through the conferences, at some point the conference prestige will start giving us a boost, or I figure it's got to anyway, right? We hope. Alright, let's run a couple practice sessions. We're going to need to start working on the depth chart and rotation for the upcoming season. So 3 CIT tournaments, 1 CBI tournament, 1 NIT appearance, and we've made the NCAA tournament 5 times. Never made it to the Sweet 16, but we have made it to 32 before. Won 4 conference championships. And the team goal is don't finish last this year. Conference prestige is up to a 17. That team prestige has dipped down to 8, sadly. Facilities used to be a D. It's now up to a C. That's still got a long ways to go. We've still got a very small arena. Okay, this is my strategy that I've played with since the beginning. It's a motion, shuffle, and Princeton offense. So that is our mix. Our defensive strategy is mostly man-to-man, but a 1-2-2 zone a third of the time. And it's full court man-to-man when we're applying pressure. Oh, I didn't know I could change that. I wonder if I could have more than one scout run in practice, or more than one coach run in practice to improve the team. Okay. Well, I just learned something. This is definitely going to take a change in the future. Like, I don't need anybody scouting. This year, there's no one to scout. Practice. Oh, really? I can only run one on practice? Well, that's dumb. Why not? Okay, and the practice plan. So this is where we spend our time working on the shuffle, the Princeton, the motion, that man-to-man, and that full court man-to-man.
You have new mail.
Alright, here's our first look after a bit of practices to see where the players are. Scott Martin, Llewellyn Curtis are our walk-ons, and they are the .5s. David Wise, the freshman of the year, is a 1.0. So weird. It does that to me almost every time. Andre Anderson, incoming freshman, is a 1.0, currently out of 2 stars. Chris Smith, who is a sophomore, is 1 star. John Mapp, the other incoming freshman, 1 star out of 4. Travis Butler, sophomore, I believe, 1.5 out of 3.5, or is he a redshirt freshman? Jamal Small is a redshirt freshman. He's 1.5 out of 4 stars. Tafflinger, who's I think one of our juniors, 1.5 out of 4 stars. And then here is a little bit of quality better than what I've had in recent years. Greg Burton, 2 stars. Winston McCamey is 2 stars. He's somewhere around a sophomore. Forney is a sophomore, 2 stars. Paul Floyd, I think, is a junior, 3 stars. Travis Snow, number 32 recruit in the nation, a true freshman, is 3 stars out of 5. I've never had a potential 5-star player, and I've never had a freshman come in at 3 stars before. So that is an absolutely huge signing for us. And Courtney Perry, also a true freshman, apparently at 4 stars. Wow. Okay. Well, those two are going to be picking up a lot of minutes, especially, like, say, at small forward. One of them is going to be playing at small forward this year. And I just noticed the time. We're not going to get too far into the rotation, but we'll get that depth chart sorted out here. And it looks like we're heading on to the season now. Oh, shoot. Red shirt. I just missed my red shirt reminder, didn't I? Oh, man. Missed that by a week. That's what I get for rushing through things. Okay, so Forney, Perry, Travis Snow. Apparently neither of them is capable of playing small forward. We'll fix that. They're both 6'1". Snow's a bigger guy, so we'll put him at small forward. Floyd, David Wise. No idea what happened to David Wise and why it's showing him to be so low all of a sudden. What the heck happened to him? Freshman of the year. phenomenal year last year, and now all of a sudden he can't play? So McCamey is going to be right there, ready to go. He might be taking over if Wise struggles, and these numbers turn out to be true. There's Burton. Main backup behind these guys, and then we got Small and Butler. Wow, all those centers. Scott Martin. I don't think you're going to get a chance to play, buddy. You got some quality centers ahead of you, and you're just the walk-on. Well, and Curtis there also. There's freshman John Mapp. Smith. Tafflinger all the way down here. What the heck happened to you, buddy? You're 1.5 stars, I guess. Get them in that appropriate order. Okay, that means you guys are going to play limited minutes if you ever get on. And you guys are definitely going to be limited minutes. Tafflinger can be an 85. Butler can be an 85. Small. You've got some decent potentials. We'll put you at 80. This is when you would take them out. So if their stamina gets low, take them off because they're going to perform not as well. What is up with this, though? Those guys are going to play a lot. They're going to get a lot of minutes this season. Okay, I'm going to leave Wise here for now, but I have a feeling McCamey is going to be taking over if Wise doesn't produce the kind of numbers he had a year ago. I mean, apparently his scoring is only a 19. He was the leading scorer on the team and one of the highest scorers I've ever had in a season last year. Let's see how we're looking for defense. Pretty good other than Wise. Burton, good option on the bench. Map. Ooh, ouch. He needs a lot of work on D. Alright, well, I am out of time. There is our depth chart. I'll get the rotation worked out off camera, but it will definitely resemble the setup here. And make that a 70. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer, and remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe, and tune in next time on my road to the record. Bye for now.